Hello and welcome back to the Game Pit. This is episode 149 and we are taking a look back at yesteryear. Well, last year, Ronan.
Does yesteryear count if it's 1 year?
Yesteryear, surely. Yesterday, yesteryear.
There's a name for the day before yesterday and I've forgotten. If I could drop it in there, I'd have felt really smart. Guest, sort of guest. Say hello while I Google this quickly.
Hello, I'm the guest. My name's Matthew Jude. Cool. There we go. Anything else?
I'll tell you what, we're lucky to get him, Ronan. He's on to bigger and better things.
It's ear yesterday and overmorrow for the day after tomorrow.
Great.
Thanks for that. Yeah,
okay.
Brilliant.
Yeah, right, Matthew. Yeah, he content creates as he breathes.
He does. He's just signed up with Rodney Smith and Chaz Marler. He is going places. I think this is the last time he'll deign to venture into the pit, Ronan.
I'm sorry. Thank you for saying Ronan's name. I had forgot it. I'll
piss off Nick Murphy's sidekick.
I'm Matthew Jude from This Game's Broken. I also do a podcast called Death by Monsters. And now I do videos for Watch It Played. So that's me. There we go.
Do you actually do Watch It Played? I know that you've been doing like some comedy styling. I honestly haven't seen a board gaming video nor made one for like a month or possibly two.
It's a dead format.
But are you going to do instructionals for
are you crazy?
Smith, or...
That's work. That's real work. I'm not doing that. That sounds terrible. I wouldn't enjoy that.
Are you doing allegedly funny ones?
I'm doing funny ones. I'm doing at the moment 3 videos a week for Watch It Played. You know, it's going to be good.
Oh.
Who knows? I might burn out and
be.
decide that it's all terrible and that life's not worth living. But other than that, board games, they're great fun.
Great. Sean, save me from having to talk about this.
You know, I've just been so sad recently.
The reason we have got Matthew in today is because we're going to look back at 2019. We're going to look at all the regular categories that we cover, best games, under the radar, best new to you, etc. So without further ado, shall we kick off with the under the radar category? And this one is the game that you didn't feel got the push it deserved. Matthew, you are first up.
Heck yeah, I am. And I would just like to remind everyone how much you agreed with everything I said last time I was doing this on the show and how nothing was a caveat. So the game I've chosen for Under the Radar, right, for this Steam category, I've chosen Pharaoh by Catch Up Games and Black Doobry Games, and it's by about...
Black Doobry. I tell you what, it's a good job someone's employed you to do this professionally.
Yes, right.
Black Doobry.
Black Rock.
Black Rock, that's the one. Well, do you know what? So this is a kind of like a really, really straight Euro kind of game where it's really Stefan Feldy. You've got like 5 different areas of the board and you go in there to get points, and you've got resources and you're trying to use those resources in all the different areas and to manipulate them to get more resources and get points while you do it. And it's just such a good Euro game. And it's really streamlined, and I just think it's really fun, and I like the theme. The whole game looks really nice. The box is nice, and I didn't see anything about it. I didn't see anyone talk about it.
That box is not nice. You're getting caught up. That box is just beige.
Now,
I have been angry at beige boxes before, but there's a nice, big, giant green beetle on the front.
How angry have you got at beige boxes?
I got so angry at a beige box that in my review, the owner of Renegade Games messaged me. I was like, I
guarantee you that box is part of the reason why this got no attention.
Well, the thing is, yes, I was going to go on about the owner of Renegade Games. It's just, he never messaged me, emailed me back ever when I've actually wanted him to email me. I was very angry about it.
Building bridges in the gaming community. Matthew Jude, everyone.
I don't care. He's never going to email me. So my box
the Wreck-It Ralph of networking.
So I just think it's a really nice Euro. It's something that I would absolutely love to play with any of you, right? And I think Nat would love it as well. It's just streamlined and it's interesting, it's fun. And I don't think it's got massive amounts of replayability, but I'm just surprised it didn't get any love because the board is much. Oh, it's great. It's just a really fun Euro game.
The reason this didn't get any hit, now I don't want to big ourselves up, Ronan, but we did poo-poo this game in our SM build-up when we did our previews, and I think everyone in the world listened to that and just said, you know what, the Game Pit boys don't like it. We're not going to touch that one.
They've never played that, but they don't like it, so they're probably right. I'm going to put some booth construction your way as well. BlackRock treat Essen as a trade fair, and they're really, really good if you're in the trade. And I use big, huge quote marks around that. For example, Sean, I know you went to a meeting with them, and they've given us a couple of stuff before, and it's great for that. For pushing a game at Essen and having it like a booth and making it available, that's not what their booth is set up for. Their booth is for the designer to speak to one person at a time to really give in depth to it. And I think that all their games miss a marketing push at Essen. It's easy to walk past there and not know what they're releasing.
It's one of those booths where it's difficult to work out how the booth works because there's no booth. It's just a storefront, right? And it's it's not like an interactive booth. And I do think you're right in that regard. They do suffer for that. But it's
not
a great
something
game.
We have to worry about this year.
Nope.
It's been cancelled.
Very true. But it is at Fairone. It is a really fun game. I do recommend it. If you like Stefan Feld, then I think you'll like this.
Okay, well, we'll happily give it a go and tell you you're wrong later. So
that's fair.
Fair enough. So my choice is a Kickstarter game, shock horror. There'll be a few of them on this. It's Dark Domains from Laboratory H. It is a game that myself and Ronan and Rachel played, and we had such a lot of fun playing this one. It was a really massively interactive game, and that meant one of the reasons I think it might not be for everyone is that it was group dependent. It could be really mean, and not just people being mean to each other, but the game could just completely decimate you. The game, it looked great. I think it was one of those games that just gave genuine moments where you talk about it afterwards. And there was so much to think about, so many places to go. And I like the way that the turn resolved. You place down your counters and then it resolves in a certain order. So where you are in that order matters massively. Really clever game, completely under the radar. Ronan, I know you like this one too.
This near missed about, how many awards have we given out? About 9, about 28 times. It near missed. It was just outside my top 10. It was just outside this, that, and the other. Which is, it was a very good game. I enjoyed it. It's slightly different. I don't think it was the tightest game. I think it shows that it's from that smaller studio. But if you're willing to excuse a little bit of leeway here and there, lots of fun. And the spells feel powerful, but actually you need to time them as well. So it's good play with crazy swings as well, but it's never very frustrating. So I really like Dark Domains. Good choice.
I don't know much about this one, but it looks fun. I know that's really not the most intelligent sentence to say about a board game, but it just looks like it's fun. I can't explain it other than that. It just looks like it's probably just really fun to play. I would like to play this with you guys if I had some point if possible.
It's funny because the gameplay itself is fun, as in it's got that bouncing backwards, forwards, there's a bit of nip and a bit of tuck, but the scoring's quite tight and actually quite predictable. So you're actually scoring in a Euro while you're playing this fun have at it game.
I'm interested.
And you've got a load of control over what you're actually doing because the heroes are going to come out and attack certain buildings in the game, and so you know what's going to come out and hit you, and you're sort of vying for position to make sure it's not you and somebody else. But then on top of that, every now and again, the game just gets up and slaps you across the face and goes, "Have some of that." And it turns out it's quite funny, but I don't think it's for everyone.
No.
Okay, my under the radar goes to Inuit, designed by 4 people and from Board and Dice.
I know why you've chosen not to say their names.
One's called Tregranic. There you go. Okay, it's about you're running your own village in the north of the American continent, and you start off with a very basic setup. And what you're going to do is draft in people into your village, but you choose where they go to, and wherever you put them is going to make actions more powerful for you. So you can build up a village of hunters. You can build up a village of shamans or people who, I don't know, lots of different things. And there's lots of ways. It's basically set collection to score points, but also it's highly interactive. So you're taking cards off each other, you're drafting before them, but also each of the cards has got its own colour, and your village will have a colour, and you want there to be villagers of your colour in play anywhere, but especially in your village, and you don't want other players, but there are ways to send villagers out to get killed because it's harsh life, and it looks really, really beautiful. And it's very well produced, and it's a smooth gameplay, and it has got everything to be a big hit. I don't know why it missed. It just was one of those who got lost in the sea. But Inuit the Snowfolk, if you see it, grab it.
It looks as though the box. Now, I don't know if Board and Dice have done this before. I absolutely do know that they've done this before. I love Board and Dice. I'm really excited about many of their releases this year. But that box is the biggest waste of space I've ever seen in my entire life. It's a deck of cards, this game, and it comes in a Tickets to Ride size box. That's a bit of a... And this is a reprint, isn't it, of an older game, is it not?
Sure.
It is. It's a reprint of Natives, which is an old game. It's giving me the chance to say this, which is interesting that they did this. I haven't played this, but I do like all the different. I do like that kind of set collection kind of stuff. So I'm interested. I would like to play it, and I think it looks really, really nice as well.
See, it's the box. Are you talking about the box size? I thought the box cover was just quite bland. I'm a big fan of Board and Dice.
Stop
you
talking.
Shut up. It was
invalid. Won't allow that.
Bland rubbish. Didn't stand out of the crowd. It made me not want to play it, and I really like Board and Dice stuff, so normally I'm all over it.
I demand everyone presses pause, Googles the box of Inuit the Snowfolk, and then sends Sean abuse on Facebook and Twitter for saying that is absolute rubbish and you're wrong.
You are wrong, Sean, because it's a beautiful looking game. It really is.
Did you just call them Snowfolk?
It's called Inuit the Snowfolk. Are you looking at the wrong box?
No, not at all. I just thought it was a bit offensive. Snowfolk.
Well, they did. There was some talk of controversy during the when this game came out and stuff, but
haven't they got a cultural advisor listed in the rulebook?
Yeah, exactly. I think they had some backlash culturally about it, but then I think they made their case and everybody said, "Oh, fair enough." Like then again, I don't know much about it.
We're Irish. We're the drunk folk.
Oh, right. Just throwing some racism. Speaking about drunk Irish people, our next category is overrated.
Oh, I've got some things to say about this. I've got some big opinions coming up.
Sean, you stole my choice. I didn't choose it. Right, you stole my second choice, whatever. This one was right there for me.
We have reviewed this one. It's Imperial Settlers, Settlers of the North, from Portal.
Now, are those Settlers of the North, are they snowfolk or not?
I don't know. Should we ask? So
they're snowfolk adjacent. They know the snowfolk. They hang out sometimes.
They are non-folk. So I really wanted to like Imperial Settlers. One of the major problems I had with Imperial Settlers is you got stuck into
tracks. It's rubbish.
That is rubbish, yeah. You got stuck into tracks. You couldn't really work out what anyone was doing, and it didn't really matter what they were doing because they were running their engine. You're running your engine. Every now and again, with the raise token, somebody would attack you, but whatever. So I saw this one, big cards. It was a lot more open, looked like it was going to be a lot more involved. And what I got was a game that finds the pattern far too quickly. You've got your set factions within the game, and it finds that pattern way too quickly, and you all sort of follow your faction's pattern and you do what they're supposed to do. It just became boring, which meant that the game was on rails, still too hard to understand what everybody was doing. And did you really care what anyone was doing? Because again, massive disappointment. And I just don't understand why this game gets the love it gets, because it doesn't seem like a finished game to me.
Can I just double check that you said big cards, so it seemed wide open? Is that because the cards were actually big? Is that how you rate these things?
I like big cards.
I want a big card that fits on my hand properly.
I want a big card.
I already spoiled that this was my second choice for this. The only reason I don't think it's overrated, because it's only overrated by certain voices, and there's plenty of people out there saying it's a pile of old, polar bear poo.
I much prefer Imperial Settlers, the original. I do like Imperial Settlers, the original.
Get out!
I do enjoy that. With certain people, I don't want to play it all the time, and I do think it's fun when everyone's in the mood to play it. But and I was really excited about this game. It just to me felt a bit like, I don't think it's a bad game, but it can be fun to see your deck do what it does, but your deck does what it does, and it doesn't do anything else. You're right? So
do.
That's what I just said. And I feel as though the game kind of just is whoever can get their engine started the quickest, right? It wins. And that's just kind of what it feels like. But
yeah,
I don't know,
terrible.
I think it looks, I love the look of it. I don't know.
Is it because of the big cards?
I love the big cards. They're wide open.
They are wide open. They are wide open.
What does that even mean?
This game, my overrated, has got really small cards. Now, I don't know if that means Sean's going to like it more or less.
No, they're too narrow. They're too narrow.
It's one that we've given a good kick in, so this really is going to be quick. But Paladins of the West Kingdom.
You're wrong.
Is 110. It's ranked 110. No, it's
Great
just. It's a puzzle that gets boring. It doesn't change enough. You end up doing the same thing. Get your green huts across as quick as possible, and then rinse and repeat. And it's okay.
Paladins of the West Kingdom is the game Orleans wanted to be.
Shots fired! Take cover!
It's like they saw all the problems with Orleans and went, "We'll do this right," and they did. It's a great game. Shut your face.
I've got nothing else to say. I think this is the end of this podcast.
What's your opinion?
I know where you live, Jude. Don't forget that.
True. What's your opinions on Architects? Out of interest, both of you.
I like Architects quite a lot. I've just got the expansion. It's waiting to get played in the next month or so.
Ronan likes it more than me, but I do like it. I thought it was the right length. If Architects was any longer, I think it probably wouldn't have been as great for me. But it just hits that 45 minutes to an hour mark.
It's interesting because I didn't like Architects, but I like this. So I feel like there's a divide there that I think Shem Phillips kind of designs games with different people in mind, and it often is the case in his trilogies that people like one of them and then don't like the other ones. And I just find that really interesting because, I didn't like Architects very much, but then again, Viscounts looks cool. Well, I don't know what I'm talking about because what we need to talk about, and everyone is wrong, and I'm right. Marvel Champions is the big example. It's not an offensive game. It doesn't upset me. But it is the biggest dime a dozen I fight the bad guy card game. And if it wasn't Marvel Champions, if it was anything else, no one would care.
Star Wars.
Yep. If it was Star Wars, people would buy it. People are buying the IP. People want to do a collectible card game. That's Marvel. That's all it is. It's just the most average. You have 3 damage. I take 4 damage. I'm gonna get some more health and some defense, and it's the most bland. If it was any other IP, really, I feel other than like Star Wars, I think this game would have absolutely disappeared. No one would play it. If it was like completely not linked to any IP, no one would have played this. But it's just because it's Marvel. It's the only reason anyone plays this.
I agree with you to a certain point in that I'm not a living card game fan. I don't like those Fantasy Flight games where you're collecting deck after deck after deck. I don't particularly like the to and fro and the sort of zero-sum nature of them. But what I will say in this one's favour is probably the most accessible. And with that license and the accessibility, you're not... there are obviously words you have to know what they do, but the keywords and what have you. But I found this one a lot more easy to get into, but I still wouldn't buy it. It's just not my thing. I don't particularly like those games.
The rulebook is excellent. I'll give him that. The rulebook is phenomenal because it's done out like a comic book and it's really easy to follow. And it kind of like, the way they print the game, the first scenario is all printed in one block and it's all like sealed together. So when you open it, you don't have to open anything else. All that kind of stuff's great, but man, if this was anything else, no one would play it. It's just there's 100 games like this and there's nothing special about this one other than Marvel.
There's a big gameplay issue with it in that there's a big gaming space in which it just extends forever. So when you're bad at it, you're going to lose. If you get really good at it or really lucky, you're going to win. And there's a massive space in the middle where the game hasn't got a very effective timer. And because the game sort of gets slightly harder if you're playing for too long, but you're equally getting slightly better, you can match pace with the game and you can end up, I played the game for 2.25 hours.
Oh, gosh. No.
And that is too long for a game like this. So I agree with you. There are issues with Marvel Champions.
The main issue being it's massively the most overrated game of the year. Well done, Matthew. Nailed it.
Paladins of the West Kingdom. Okay.
No, shut up. I'm so...
Away from the bad, I'm back to the good, and this is where we take a look back and pick out one game that was published before 2019, but we played first in 2019 as a recommendation. So, Sean, pluck for us.
I shall pluck Dinosaur Island, aka Jurassic Park, the board game, from 2017 and Pandasaurus Games. As I said, it is Jurassic Park, the board game. I had played Dinosaur Island. We got it in Essen, I think last year or the year before. And Dinosaur Island, it gave me the taste. And I kept thinking about, I wonder if the Dinosaur Island is going to give me sort of a more meatier sandwich to get my teeth stuck into. Has to be about food, I know. So the art style was what put me off originally. I didn't like the garish sort of neon graphics, but after playing Dinosaur Island, I sort of got my head around it. Picked up Dinosaur Island, didn't look back. Loads to do, but it's all broken up, which makes it a lot easier to get into and get your head round. Really thematic feeling, a little bit of luck tucked in there. And who doesn't like building dinosaur parks? I really enjoyed Dinosaur Island, and I still do.
It's good. It's good. I played that. I played it with you. I played it a few times. It is a really good game. It kind of feels like Dinosaurs, the Uwe Rosenberg game, and I really like that. It's really fun. I like it.
I hated the artwork initially before playing Dinosaur Island, so I never backed this, and I got confused between this and Dinogenics, and I was waiting to find out which one was better to come out after, people have played it a few times.
Very good point.
And I can't tell which one's better, so I've just sort of stuck going, the theme doesn't appeal to me that much. No one said these games are great, apart from Sean and, his opinion. Well, so I haven't bought either of them, and I'm not that fussed.
It's just in Dinosaur Island's defense, I think sometimes it's a bit blown out component-wise and all that kind of stuff, and I think it kind of went, you can get a 90s slap band in it and all that kind of nonsense, but when you actually play it, it's a really satisfying game to play. That's one way I'd describe it. It's a lot of fun.
Nice.
Ronan's going to mention a game he hasn't mentioned on the podcast before, so what's that, Ronan?
in the Codcast?
Codcast.
If you're going to be being a smart ass to me, make sure you say your words right. Very briefly, the best game I played that wasn't 2019, and you've all heard it before. Remember it. Rumble Nation, play it. That's it.
It's incredible. I played it with you, and it's so good. I was blown away, and every new mechanism that came up, I had to stop and say, I literally looked at you and said, oh man, that's so cool. It's such a good
But you
game.
were saying that to me a lot anyway, Matthew.
I was like, wow, look at that, it's massive.
Does he have his boobs out?
And then I put my baseball cap away. Right.
Yeah, I completely agree. It would have been my choice if I didn't know that Ronan was going to put it down there. So, yeah, Rumble Nation, really, really good. It's so good, it shouldn't be that good, but it is. It's a very good game.
I have about 16 choices for this. So narrowing this down was super hard, because I could have said Jumbo. I could have said Limes.
Yeah, but you didn't say any of those, and you're not going to.
Well, no, I'm not. I could have said Vikings. That's a really good game. But I said Stone Age and Cyclades. I did pick two.
It's like you're paying to your gallery here. It's like you've gone, Sean, here's Stone Age, you love that. Ronan, here's Cyclades, you love that.
It's just, I played Cyclades the first time, and I played it with Sean and with Luke and with Dan Hughes and stuff. And oh man, I just finished playing it and thought, this is so good. It's not what I expected. It completely took me by surprise. I was like, oh, fine, we'll play it. And then I played it, I was like, this is so good. And because it is a fantastic game. And we played it with the Hades expansion, which I really would recommend as well. I think it's fantastic. And Stone Age is a classic for a reason, because it's just really, really fun. And if you've ever missed it and not played it because it's an old game, do yourself a favour and play Stone Age, because it's just really fun.
I concur with both of them. As you know, I introduced Stone Age to you. I couldn't believe you hadn't played it.
Yeah, exactly.
Cyclades, fantastic game. If it wasn't a 3-player plus game, I would probably own this game. I would definitely own it. It's fantastic.
Well, now that I own it, you don't need to, because I would come around your house, there'll be 3 players, and I'd bring it with me. So
have you bought it?
Yeah, I got it in the maths trade, mate. I'm all about the maths trade.
He's gone maths trade.
Creating a monster.
Ronan got me into the maths trades. He explained it to me. Sean explained me the maths trade in a car journey for 45 minutes. I looked at him and I said to Sean, I said, look, could you explain maths trades to me? He did, and now I'm in. I'm so heavy, I'm so deep in, I can't look back. Math trades are the way of future. No one should buy a game ever again. They're great.
Beautiful. Yeah, you're right. Stone Age is very good. Cyclades is fantastic. And you're right, especially with Hades. And Titans mixes it up, and it's all super groove. Right, Shawnee, lead us onwards.
So now we're going to go into best production or art, or a combination of both. Ronan.
A combination of both from me, because I'm a bit of an ignorant Philistine, and I never really get that excited about the art of a game too much. So this is really Sean's category. He's the only person you should listen to. But my choice is Tainted Grail. I like it. I like Agricola.
So anyway. Do I love it. Clemens Franz, man, he's ace.
Because it works.
Yeah.
But leading in, nice segue, Matthew, into this Tainted Grail from Awakened Realms, because they have gone for a particular look, which is a dark, decaying, Celtic mythological look, but kind of almost transposed slightly into a fantasy world. But it also, functionally, they have made the components work with the mechanics of the game. They've made your stats and things like that very, very clear. They've done a clever use of cards for the combat system, which I'm currently not loving the combat system, but the way they've done it in terms of production is very good. And on top of all of that, as well as having impressive art, having it all link into to making the game actually easier to play, I'm actually going to say, incredibly unusually, there are stories within the game. You're not constantly reading things out, but sometimes you're reading stories out, little snippets, and they are very, very well written. And how many fantasy games have you played and you're reading, or you're in a dungeon and you meet a jailer? These have actually got surprising moments in them where you've made choices and you feel like, oh, that was an actual choice. And I didn't expect that. And descriptive passages that really bring home what's going on in front of you and bring you into the atmosphere. So overall, for production, for looks, for the quality of writing, which is incredibly unusual, Tainted Grail is a fantastic production.
Tainted Grail seemed to me to be the kind of game that you could go and get instead of getting Kingdom Death Monster, right? And it just felt like it kind of filled that niche. It just looks really, really good. It just undeniably looks awesome. The minis are really good in it, right?
Well, I didn't, I didn't get all the minis. I don't care about minis. You get these men here, which are really cool. They're the massive statues that sort of power the land, and then you just have your own little adventurer ones. A few of them. There's not a lot to it. I got a base package, so I'm sure that you can get all sorts of funky goodness. And speaking of Kingdom Death Monster, it's funny you mention that. Sean, did you buy it for me yet?
Not yet.
They've made the whole lot available for sale, Matthew, for $450.
I might just get it. I don't want it. I can't afford it, but I feel like that's a good deal.
I'm kind of like, okay. I've bookmarked the website. Put it that way. Shawnee, any thoughts on Tainted Grail?
Tainted Grail is it's Awakened Realm, so everything they do, they kind of put their heart and soul into. Whether the game's good or not, I don't know, but it certainly looks beautiful. They like to tell a story with their games. They're very good at storytelling, as we learned from This War Is Mine and things like that, where they really sort of evoke that feeling of the war-torn city and the people living in it. So I have no doubt that the storytelling in this is fantastic, and from afar, the artwork looks beautiful.
Okay, before we go to Matthew, I just jump in quick. I've been whinging about Awakened Realms, and this has just reminded me about Lords of Hellas, that I never got it because I missed the pledge and I couldn't. Anyway, I sent them an email. I said, look, mate, what's going on? Can I just have my money back? They went, yeah, all right, no worries. And they sent all my money back to me. So that was cool. Happy ending. Thank you, Awakened Realms. Matthew, your choice for best production or art or both.
Well, I'm on Kingdom Death Monster's website. It says $400 now. That's pretty good, right?
Sean, get it for me.
There's a UK warehouse.
But there wasn't shipping available from the UK warehouse when I last looked. Check, Matthew, check.
It says free domestic shipping from a UK or UK warehouses. So
but go into the actual buy thing, and it wasn't there. Thing.
Is that the technical
name? When you put your shit and you go, oh, I'll have.
I know this is something you always say to me, Ronan. Are you ever going to play it?
Shut up. It's not your choice while he looks at that.
I've seen people learning this game at LobsterCon. It took them 3 hours to learn it.
The rulebook is over 200 pages long, if I'm not mistaken. That's not a joke. So, my best art production is...
I can't tell if I'm horrified or turned on. Anyway.
Bit of column A.
My pick for best production or artwork is Unmatched the restoration game remake of Star Wars Epic Duels, I believe, where you're going around fighting your friends around a little board. And it's the complete opposite of anything I'd normally like as well. And I think Unmatched is absolutely incredible as a game. It's one of my favourite games. And it's just the artwork. The minis are really, really nice. And they're not massive or massively overproduced. But for what you get and for the price point of the game, the minis are incredible. And they come with I don't know anything about painting minis, but they come with like a contrast like primer paint thing on them, so they look really nice. But the artwork and most of those words are wrong, and I appreciate that, but they look good. But the artwork on the cards themselves is just so good. And you look at the cards, and honestly, if you got a sheet of the cards, I would frame it and put it up like in a game room. The cards are really, really nice looking. And I really like the look of the boards themselves. The board's functional, but they're really beautiful and they look different. Everything about Unmatched from a production standpoint, I think when you match it with the price point of the game, I just think they did an incredible job. And I don't know how they did it such a good job for the price point of the game, because it's like less than 30 quid for the first volume of Unmatched, and it's just really, really good. And you get a bunch of minis. I really like it, but I also might be slightly biased because of how much I also enjoy the game. But Unmatched would be my choice. Thoughts?
Am I right or wrong in believing that all the card art is slightly different styles? So depending on what character you get. Yeah. So I think that in itself, for me, is a little bit hit and miss. But the production of the game, as you said, it's great. I didn't think it stood out massively for me, but then I haven't played it as much as yourself, but yeah. I can see where you're coming from. It's definitely a good production.
It just works really well at 2 players, and I've got the Bigfoot and the Robin Hood expansion, and I've also got the Bruce Lee expansion. So I mean, it's pretty cool. Let's face it.
Was this released only to media people? Because it's got 32 ratings on Board Game Geek and 3 comments.
It's insane. It's such a good game.
But no one's playing. What is it? I've shut up and sit down. Yourself, Secret Cabal, Dice Tower. They all talk about it. But
I do put myself at the same level of all those entities. Correct, but
you're as bad as them. But this doesn't exist. What's going on?
I'm just surprised because they've got. I mean, I know that they've got the license for Buffy. There's going to be a Buffy expansion. They're doing a Jurassic Park expansion because
they're not. If it's only got 32 ratings, mate,
they're like being made. They're selling this game, but it's just not getting. They're definitely selling copies. They're selling units because at every convention I've seen them, they've taken a ton of them and they keep on selling out at conventions. But you'd think you'd have more hype because it's the reprint of a game that everybody wanted. One of those Grail games that was never going to come back into print, right? So it's like, but yeah, it's a weird mix there. But I always see it sold out places. And like Volume 2's coming out in the next few months as well. So that's going to be 4 new characters. I'm going to get it. I love the game. I really, really recommend it. And it looks amazing.
It is a good game. I will give you that, Mr. Jude. It is a very good game. And so my choice
Unlike your choice.
It's a game I actually haven't played. I've never played this game. I don't own it. I will own it because
your choice is invalid. Let's move on.
I was going to say invalid. You beat me to it.
But I do know the look of the game because I have looked at the artwork, and the artwork is absolutely beautiful. It's kind of evocative of those years gone by, like in the 1920s when you get those railway posters like "Come and visit Cornwall" and a picture of a train coming into Cornwall Station, and that kind of, and I think they've obviously gone back because the national parks in America use very similar poster campaigns back in the day. So they've kind of taken that and run with it, and it's absolutely stunning. Every bit of artwork in that game is beautiful. I don't know what the component quality is like because I've never played it, but just for artwork alone, it's beautiful.
I'm worried, and by worried I mean I actually don't care, but I just have the opinion that this is a really simple, bland, boring game hidden behind some really nice art. But I'm happy to be proved wrong about it. And the way they went about their second Kickstarter with releasing 3 separate games in 3 different boxes and all this kind of stuff, I found that all a bit strange, and I feel like they're selling artwork and they're not selling good games. But I haven't played it, but it just looked very dull to me as a game, from a gameplay standpoint. But I can't deny the game looks beautiful.
I echo Matthew entirely. I have got a weird one for you though, right? Now, I never like to diss other content creators, okay? And I love the Dukes of Dice. I absolutely love it. Listened to them for years. But I just listened to an episode they had where they did a board game death match because everyone's struggling to put content together. We can't play games as much. And they got in people from another podcast, and there's 5 of them, and they chose a category and they drafted in games from that category, and it was IP games, right? And then they were going to have a death match of the 16 games they chose, and it was a head-to-head, and people would vote, and whichever got the most votes got to go through. You with me so far?
It's Celebrity Deathmatch, the podcast.
But so they had like Outer Rim and War of the Ring and Battlestar Galactica and all that. Before they started, 2 of them said, "Well, I've never played like 13 of these games." And then the very first thing when they were voting, it came down to 2 people, neither of which had played them. And they were like, "So I think maybe I'll go with like that one." And I was like, the Dukes of Dice do really good content, really good reviews. I think they're very entertaining. But that one was like, I found myself listening to a podcast about people who'd never played the game deciding which one was better. I thought we were the only people who did that.
It's okay normally if you know the IP, but you don't. If you know the game, but you don't know the IP. But if you know the IP, but you don't know the game, that's slightly more difficult.
It's just,
I don't know if the movies are good.
Cooking today, listen to it after a while of this actual. What am I listening to? Anyway, we can move on, and I'll stop being mean. Shall we move on?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Right, so we're going to move on to not usually in my wheelhouse, but so it's the type of game or style that you usually don't get along with, and it's kind of bucked the trend this year, and it's made you like it for some reason or another. Otherwise known as Sean finds an abstract puzzle game that he quite likes.
That's exactly what's happened. Have you played TAC? It's great.
I haven't.
It's so good. I'm the first up with this one, and I am a lover of dry, dusty, dirty Euros.
Women.
And women, if they'll have me. But I played Cthulhu Death May Die. I don't care about Cthulhu. I don't have any interest in that kind of mythos. I don't care about miniatures that much. It's fine if they come in the game, but I don't seek them out. I don't like Simon as a company particularly very much, and I just there's nothing about this game I should like. But Cthulhu Death May Die is absolutely incredible. It's so good. So it's like a co-op game where you're trying to stop Cthulhu being summoned and you're running around these mansions killing cultists. Everyone's got special powers that are fairly tastelessly done, but as a game, it's just so fun. It's tense, it's ridiculous. You can when you get hurt, you power up and you could do big moves, and then you're kind of like Benny Hill running around a thing being chased by 16 cultists, and then all of a sudden you're on fire.
Are they in bikinis?
They are, and it depends how you paint them. But knowing Simon, yes, they will be in bikinis, but it's just everything I don't like. It's not everything I don't like about games. It's everything I don't normally care about in games, and I played it and thought I just had so much fun playing it that I just couldn't deny that it was a good game because it's just silly fun and it's just really, really good. So Cthulhu Death May Die. I've only got the main game. I haven't got the second season and then the extras and then the extra promos and there's 65 other promos that are going to come out within season 17 and stuff. Because in the first game, there's like 7 chapters you can play through. And I feel as though that's enough game to keep on. Because it's not easy to win. And I'm not going to play it enough to need to get the second series of it or anything, the second season. But, man, it's really, really good. Have you played it?
I haven't. I was listening to Mike on Sporadically Bored with Dan talking about this game, but I couldn't remember what the name of it was. So I actually PM'd him on Facebook or BGG or something and asked him, and he wasn't sure himself because he likes so many Cthulhu games. But I think we narrowed it down to this one eventually after a bit of conversation, and he really rates it highly. I've watched your review on this, Matthew, based on. You were one of the few people that I've known that have actually covered it. And I'm well up for a game of this. It looks right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, at any time, I'd love to play it with both of you playing this game. I think that would be an absolutely brilliant time. I really do.
I feel like I don't need to own it because Sean will.
And I'm the one that got it. Oh, man, I need you. Oh, no.
Welcome to the club, Matthew.
I'll lend it to Sean, and then Sean will tell me it's in London, and I'm like, fine. At least I know
feel
it's
like
safe.
It's Cthulhu. It's light. It's funny. It's rules light. It's a good crack. It's co-op. He's going to buy it, so I don't need to decide either way because I'm going to play it. That's that.
That's the last thing I say about it as well, actually. It's really accessible as a game to play, which is super nice for this kind of thing as well. It makes it kind of like easy to get to the table, I think. Oh, it's great.
Cool. Right, so my choice is a puzzle game, an abstract puzzle game even, and it is Robin of Locksley from Rio Grande. Very simply, if you know how chess plays, you are basically using the knight's moves from chess and moving around a grid of, I think it's 5x5, and you are collecting treasure, but you're collecting treasure to perform tasks which are around the edge of your grid. So it might say you have to have 3 pink treasures, or a pink and a green, and they're all different things. Be in the corner of the grid, be next to your opponent. So you've got to plan ahead. You've got to keep thinking about how you're going to do things, and a really simple but engaging game. More than one way to go, because you can trade in the treasures in sets to get coins, and then you can pay the coins to bypass some of the tasks. Very satisfying, and a few arguments in the households based on it can be quite mean, but I really, really enjoyed Robin of Locksley.
I played this and I agree. It's actually, there's something about this which is really satisfying to play. It's fun, and you think just because you just move in the way you move on the boards, like what can you do and stuff. But it's really, really good, and it's one of those kind of games that that Uwe Rosenberg's probably had on his shelf for a long time and just tried to get published, and he's just because I know the company Worm Gold, I think they're called, or what they're called, the other company that did it with Rio.
Rio that's
Grande.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like basically they had to start that company up because Uwe Rosenberg just said, I've got too many games. I need to start publishing them myself as well because people can't publish the games fast enough. And this was one of the first ones that they went with. And yeah, it's really for the simple kind of like the way the game is. It's fun. It just is really, it's fun. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it sounds fun, mate. And it's one of those things, I think, when you play as a couple, there's certain games that you both click into, and that is always going to push your enjoyment up by 1 or 2 notches, right? And if it suits the both of you and you're both having fun and you're equally matched, and it's great to find a game like that.
Yeah.
So,
but I was a little bit worried because after Hengist, when two players,
we promised never to mention that name.
Oh my God, that was atrocious. That's why I didn't
look in the mirror and
before.
say it 3 times. A Viking will appear behind you.
A crap one.
That's the kind of game I always have to remind myself is not good. I always see it. It's like, well, it's Uwe Rosenberg. It's £5 in this thing. It's like, no, Matthew, it's not. It's a bad game.
Don't do it, Matthew.
But this Robin of Locksley's got that kind of like exactly what you said, Ronan Valley, is that it's got that kind of thing. If you can play it with someone, you're equally matched them. Like it feels a bit like how you can just play you can play Lost Cities with someone over and over. I can anyway play Lost Cities with someone over and over and over again, and it's like there's not that much to do, but it's just satisfying and fun each time to try and like outwit your opponent, and this definitely has that going for it.
Ooh, I love a bit of Lost Cities. Okay,
it's bloody cool.
Oh, my choice is a game that Sean turned up with one evening to the house. He said, I've got Tiny Towns. Let's play this. And I was like, oh, God.
It looks so tiny in his monster hands as well.
Every town is tiny to you. It's an AG, tiny towns, like it's a generic name. He was like, yeah, you're building up your town on a grid using colours. I'm like, oh god, this sounds awful. And it blew me down. It was really, really good. And it is, as he was saying, a spatial puzzle, but a clever one. There's drafting, there's interaction, there's variety within the box, and it is just hit on all levels apart from the presentation and the silly name. But other than that, Tiny Towns is a fantastic game, and definitely one I think that serious gamers are likely to overlook, but could get a lot out of it for a little palate refresher for 45 minutes or so, because there's actual proper game in there.
I agree 100% with what you've just said. I think it's fantastic. Don't get the expansion; it's pointless. But the actual main game of it is just, it's just so much fun. It's a really, really good little game that's devious in its complexity, especially when you play with the first lot of cards and you go, "Oh, this is good. I'll do a cottage and a well, and I've got a little strategy." Then someone pulls out a bunch of different cards, and you go, "Oh no, how am I gonna?"
Where's the well?
Pardon?
Where's the well? I can't make room now. Why is there no well in this set?
Oh, and the thing is, this game as well is like halfway through, you look back and you go, "I'm not winning this." I'll tell you that. But everyone's thinking the same thing. Everyone thinks they've screwed up so early on. It's great. It's such a fun game.
I think the key mechanism that just turns it from a run-of-the-mill, that's quite good, to, that's really clever, is that one where you're picking up the cube. Well, I'm going to build with yellow this turn, and everybody else has to now place a yellow on their board. So they've got to think, where do I put this? And it's watching everybody else because you're trying to scupper them at the same time as building your board up. I love that mechanism. I think it makes the game. I think it's a very clever game.
You're right there, just quickly, you are right there, because if the game didn't have that, it would be solitaire and it would be boring.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that whole interaction is what makes it.
It's completely interactive in that way, and that's what makes the game. You're absolutely right, definitely.
And also it allows for different levels of play in that you can just play to build your own thing and go, well, I need a red, and that's how we play it, and, play with Caitlin and that. But then if it was just Sean and I and Rachel playing, we would be killing each other. We'd be like, what's the worst cube? Now, I can live with a blue, but blue would really shag you. Blue. And then just look at him and maybe smile. Okay.
It goes back to Tang Garden. There's me playing with Natalie. Oh, it's a lovely game. Just a nice little serene game.
Right? It's not a nice game. Play it properly.
Not with you and Rachel, it's not.
Oh, I'm going to tell Rachel, you're mean. Right. We're going to move on. Speaking of mean, for our last category, because this is going to be in 2 episodes, by the way. We thought we'd do 2 quick ones rather than 1 long one. We're incapable of a long one. So the top 10 of the year is coming next episode, hot on the heels of this. But we're going to finish off with one that everyone seems to enjoy every time, and we certainly enjoy doing it. It's our 3 biggest disappointments of 2019.
I forgot that this list was here. I just scrolled down to look at these games, and I'm so angry already.
Good. We're going to have a good fight. It's good. It's not the worst games, because games are bad. Go to a toy shop and buy some games. They're awful. These are ones we actually had some hope for, and yet they let us down. So, Sean, you're going to kick us off with your 3rd biggest disappointment of 2019.
I'm also going to give a quick mention to the 20th anniversary edition of Castles of Burgundy. Fantastic game. Had everybody excited. What was that monstrosity they put on the table? It's awful. It's terrible.
The problem is as well, the second I knew this was coming out, I knew it was coming out, I immediately sold my copy of Castle of Burgundy, and I regret it. So now I'm sans La Burgundy. I've got no copy at all. I'm waiting for Castles of Tuscany to come out, and I'm forgetting Burgundy exists.
Okay, so my actual choice for the 3rd place is Abomination, the Heir of Frankenstein, from Plaid Hat Games. The whole game, it gives the illusion that you've got all this fantastic choice, but you're not. You're channeled down certain directions. You've got to, it's quite macabre in itself, in that you're collecting dead bodies and you're harvesting them, and you're going to try and create your Frankenstein, or Frankenstein's bride or something, because he wants a partner, because he's fed up and living alone, bless him. And
preach it!
So you kind of channeled it and you think there's all this choice, but there's no real choice. You're making some quite questionable choices within the game, whether it's very moral or not, we'll bypass. Then after that, it is quite an intense game until you're building up resource after resource, and it's really hard to actually build the body parts, and then it's really hard to complete the body and get it ready. But then right at the end, you have to roll a random set of dice that may give you the body part you need or animate it, may leave you not getting the animation or the body part that you need, or may even take away some of the body parts. So after probably 45 minutes of work, you then go to animate some of your corpse and you might lose the whole thing. Brilliant. Well done, Plaid Hat. Another game you've unfinished.
I would find that so aggravating to play. I really don't like hard work undone by random chance. It really, really bugs me. And I was very interested in this game because I like that macabre kind of look, right? And I find that fun and interesting. But you told me about this game when you played it, and I was like, oh, we could play, because I saw it at your house. I was like, oh, we could play this. And you were like, oh, let's play anything else.
If that little plaid hat symbol in the bottom corner of a game hasn't functioned as a warning sign to you yet, Sean, I really don't know what more they can do to drive you away. I mean, how many times have you whinged about them on this podcast?
Oh, but they keep drawing me in. They've got such good ideas. That's the frustrating thing. Their ideas are fantastic, and they just don't pull it around very often. When they do, I think it is amazing. Like, I really like Dead of Winter. I really like
I love
Stuff Fables. I really enjoy. Like, the family really got on with that. Two of our favourite games, but it's very rare that they put it together.
I was just thinking that because Dead of Winter I really do love Dead of Winter. I think I've had some amazing like memories and like moments in board games playing Dead of Winter. It's so much fun. I'm interested in Forgotten Waters. I am interested. That's their new title. I'm interested, but
of course I am, because it sounds brilliant.
But I'm doing what I think is a smart thing, and I'm going to wait for you to buy it, and it's 3 players and up, so you need me to come around to play anyway. So I'll just wait and see.
See, Matthew's learning, Sean. You need to learn from Matthew's learning. A plaid hat, after Summoner Wars, may as well have shut their doors down. Okay. My number 3 has already been discussed at length, and I'm the fool here because I was sucked into believing it was something different, it was a change, it was work on the system, that it was different enough to make it good, and that is Imperial Settlers, Settlers of the North. Z Garcia, you lied to me. It is not that different, and it is not very good. So we've covered that one already, but it was in my top 3 disappointments.
It would have been in my top 3 as well if you hadn't have chose it, I think. I just wasn't I was just really wanted something from this game, and I would just go back and I'm just going to play Imperial Settlers instead, if I'm honest.
I'm sorry about that as well.
It's true.
It was going to be here or elsewhere in the disappointment section. So
yeah, exactly.
I was going to rant about it somewhere.
My pick is Azul Summer Pavilion, which why it exists. It's just, that's the end of the sentence. Why does this game exist? What's the point of this game?
The answer is money. That's what you need to know.
That's what it is. It's a cash grab, right? Azul's really popular, and Stained Glass of Sintra was fine, and then everyone was saying, yeah, but Azul Summer Pavilion, that's going to be the gamer's Azul. That's the real Azul. That's the Azul you've all been waiting for. And I played it, and I thought, it's better than Stained Glass of Sintra, I'll give you that, but it's not as good as just original Azul. The best one by a country mile in this series is just the original Azul. And this just had a bunch of hype behind it as well, because everyone was talking about it as the gamer's Azul. And I was like, this is going to be cool. But it's the opposite of the gamer's Azul, because the original puzzle in Azul is so satisfying and fun and interesting and backstabbery and devious and fun and funny. But this is just, you can just kind of take anything, put it in your little thing and score some points. It's not gamery. It's so much more wide open, and there's so much more things, more options, and you don't want more options in this game. You want it to be difficult to do things, because that's the fun of a puzzle game, that it's not easy. This just seemed like, oh, I guess I'll just take this, and I'll take this, and then I'll take these, fine, whatever. It just kind of waters down the original concept of Azul. It adds like some special bonus powers and this, but the bonus powers you have to work way too hard to pull off. They're not worth it when you get them, and so you might as well just ignore them. And there's just too many ways to score. It takes all the bits that I like from original Azul, the pattern building, and just kind of, you don't feel like you're pattern building in this one. You feel like you're just dumping tiles into different bags in front of you and hoping to get as many points. The winning strategy for Azul Summer Pavilion is get as many tiles as you possibly can. That's the only thing you need to do, and you'll probably win. Whoever gets the most tiles wins. That's the way this game works. And it's just such a miss, and I was super excited about it. And yeah, Azul Summer Pavilion just was an absolute miss for me. I didn't like it at all. Massively disappointed because I was super excited about it.
Yeah, I had no ambitions for this one at all. We've got it because Nat really wanted to pick it up when we were at Aircon recently. It was on sale, so she picked up a copy. But I have no hopes for it. I'm happy with original Azul and Sagrada. Those two games will do me fine in that genre for the rest of the days because I love them both. And they're both fantastic. And as Rona said and yourself, it's just a cash grab now.
So Azul has become the pre-Marvel Cinematic Universe superhero movie franchise. In that people like the first film, but the studio execs look at it and think, well, the people like this film because they like the villains and the special effects. So let's give them 10 more minutes of special effects and another villain in part 2. And then a third villain in part 3 and a fourth villain in part 4. And they've completely missed the point of why people liked the first movie, like the first Azul. We like the tightness. We like the fact that I sit there and I know there's 5 moves left and I'm looking ahead to the 5 drafts going, right, what am I going to get left with? What can I least screw myself over? In the next 2 iterations, they removed that and they thought what we wanted was lots of shiny tiles, and that would distract us from the fact that we're not actually making any serious tight decisions, and they're wrong. So this is the Sony Spider-Man to the MCU.
That's the perfect analogy, because what they've done is they've taken away all the stakes and the threat is all gone because you'll be fine. You're going to be fine.
Yeah. You know, because there's 2 villains, and let's forget about the depth and the actual thoughts and the caring. It's just about the bright colours.
Yeah, because if you mess up in the original Azul, you can lose by like 50 points. You can be like, I got like 13 points this whole game. If you do like really, yeah, it's just.
Didn't they change the official rule for original Azul and say the first tile doesn't cost you or something now? I feel like they eased up the pain in the original Azul as well, just to really add to the fact that let's just make this completely anyway. Okay, now my second one, this is a complete cop out. Now, to be honest, apart from my last choice, I didn't. This was a year of good games to me, and it was across the board good games, and I struggled to get really amazing ones, and I struggled to get real big disappointments. So I've chosen Crystal Palace for my second place. Crystal Palace is a fine game. And I'd play it. I wouldn't want to play it too often. I don't want to play it too much. But I just had really high hopes for it. I remember that when we did our treasure or trap for Essen, Sean, we were super excited. We loved the theme, the fact it was in London. Yep. We still see the historical areas around there, what it looked like, the placement of the dice. It turned out, to me, there was a bit of a lack of tension in the placement of the dice. The game all forced everyone into a middle path where you all had 1 or 2 inventions. They didn't necessarily trigger off anything else. Everyone had kind of similar money amounts. Some of the game was almost irrelevant. And it was just a bit middling. Now, it's a decent game. I recommend, if you like the thought of it, to give it a play. It just didn't hit the heights. It was a victim of my own anticipation. So my second most disappointing is Crystal Palace.
Less World Trade Fair, more just standard fare.
I'm going to have to think about that one. That's quite deep.
I'm a genius! This looked to me how you described it just, which is why I wasn't interested in it.
I'm on the fence still. I still need to play this a few more times. I only really played it 2-player. So, Matthew, I might force it upon you one of the days when we finally do get to play games again.
He might make you play Crystal Palace as well. Hey!
Hey! No, but seriously.
I absolutely would play it. It just doesn't look bad. It just doesn't look that interesting.
I think there are interesting things in it, but whether it comes together is my worry. Whether it all kind of forms a cohesive unit by the end.
Here's my final worry for Crystal Palace. that I'm going to get nostalgic the further away I get from my plays of it. And I'm going to be like, maybe it was quite good, actually. Crystal Palace. And I'll play it and it'll crush my soul again.
Well, I was thinking they were going to get relegated for the next season, mate. And the thing is, they've never been the same since the 90s when they were really at their prime. Sorry, not that.
Roy is very good at bringing through players, though.
What's he thinking? Here
he goes.
So my pick for my second most biggest disappointment, that's the sentence I'm using and I'm sticking to it, is Era Medieval Age.
Medieval Age is about the war between Gaelic warlords and the Normans and Strongbow. That's what Era Medieval Age is.
Good point. So we'll go with Era. That's a very good point. This game comes in a giant box. It's got all these wonderful, massive pieces that you're putting onto these like pegboard kind of things, and you're building up your city. And it comes to life in front of you, and it's this massive city that you're building. But really, it's the most over-bloated roll and write that's ever existed. That's all it is. It's a roll and write game where you roll some dice, and then you get your pieces, but instead of drawing them onto your little player sheet, you get to take a big plastic piece out of the box and put it on the board. It looks phenomenal, but it plays like, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it plays just like any other. It plays like the most standard roll and write that exists, but it's just so overproduced, so bloated in the production, but they still managed to screw up the production so badly that they had to issue everybody that asked for them, not for free, you have to buy it, with replacement player boards or stickers to go over the player boards, because they realised that you couldn't see the indented writing on a pale yellow board. It was the most disappointing experience, other than one, I would say, but like for what it is, I just couldn't believe how little game was in such a massive box. And it was just a huge disappointment. The problem is with the game is that if it was a roll and write that came in a little box, a little roll and write with some pencils and a pad, it'd be absolutely fine. But I would tell you to go play Cartographers instead, because it's a fantastic game. This is just so unbelievably average. And I was massively disappointed because I was like, this looks so cool. I was really interested in it. Everyone was saying it was like through the ages, but it was going to be so much better than that. And it just didn't hit on any of those marks. Totally disappointing. I would warn anybody off playing this game. It's absolute pig in a poke. You don't need to play it. You shouldn't buy it. And and I know so many of the people who have said the same thing about it as well. A huge disappointment for me this year was Era, whatever, Medieval Age. And also, it's got the blandest name of any game that's ever existed.
What are you going to say about your number one? You're getting more and more upset here.
I was angry about this game. And then I was angry at the company for how they tried to write their mistakes at everyone else's expense. And were kind of really arsey about it. Anyway.
That doesn't sound great. Now, that sounds terrible. But so what you're saying really is it's style over substance.
Massively.
I'm in. I am in. I want to play this. that's my wheelhouse, baby.
Like, Era Medieval Age is like eating a packet of Skips.
I like Skips.
I love Skips, right? But there ain't a lot of substance going on there, is there? It's all style and zing.
Oh, when you eat as many as I do, there's a bit, but never mind. I do actually want to play this. It kind of appealed to the child in me. The toy factor in this one was quite high, so yeah. I would like to give it a go, but I trust you enough, Matthew, to believe you when you say it's terrible.
So I need to thank Matthew, because via the process of him choosing this, I've found my exact gaming opposite in the BGG comments. The person's name is Akindor, and they wrote this game an 8 out of 10. Chunky little buildings locking into a Lego-like board, whose visibility is now thankfully improved with the must-use stickers now included in the game. So the first printing was unusable because it didn't have the stickers with it.
Yeah, my version was unusable. You had to play... Oh, God.
All right, I'll keep going. The chunky dice are lovely. I don't care the dice are chunky. Sean does, I don't. And not as penalising as dice in other games. Right, it's wide open. I hate it. Good. There's a lot of complexity in building abilities and relations too. So the dice are forgiving, but it's hard to know how to build things, making this a little harder to teach. Not helping. That you get a pretty little city at game's end with so many different ways to earn your points makes for a satisfying conclusion. Forget points. Whose village looks like the one you'd like to visit?
Oh, God, I hate this person. Oh, no.
Shoot me. Shoot me. Bonus, that the game remains playable and fun, even if you disregard the sword-rattling, resource-stealing element. So you're just ignoring all the player interaction and throwing some chunky dice on a board you can't use in a complicated game where you don't care how you score point.
Go buy Tiny Towns, which is an amazing game, and go buy Cartographers, which is an amazing game. Both of those are amazing, fantastic games. And ignore this game to exist. It's horrible.
I can't believe Ronan found my Board Game Geek pseudonym.
I know. Can't believe I do a podcast with Akindor UK. Go on, Shawnee, what's your number 2?
Okay, very quickly, because we've already covered it, is Paladins of the West Kingdom from Garphill Games, Renegade. I don't dislike it as much as Ronan does. My main problem, I actually quite enjoyed the puzzle within the game. I felt like I was really working hard.
I just said it was overrated. You said it's the second most disappointing of the year. Don't think we're wiggling room here. I was a little disappointed in it. I'd still play it.
Wait. I'll still play it. I am disappointed. My main factor I'm disappointed in it is that it's from Garphill Games, and I absolutely love Shem Phillips' designs. This is the first one that I've had major problems with in all of his designs, really.
Explorers?
So, I like the Explorers.
Shipwrights?
Shipwrights, it needed the townsfolk expansion, but once you add that in, it's okay. This one was the first one I actually felt genuine disappointment. I had no knowledge going into Shipwrights. It was the first one of his I had played, so I didn't realise I should be disappointed. But with this one, I was enjoying the process of the game. I was really enjoying it. But then when it came to the scoring, I realised it's just a bit broken. I felt like you are channeled down 2 routes, and they're very obvious routes. And then the thing that creates the winner or loser, generally, if you're of equal sort of skill in the game, is the flip over of a card that you may have stacked up on and somebody else may not. So I might get the benefit because the card has flipped over in my favour. It just didn't sit right with me, the scoring in the game, and the whole game just didn't sit right with me because of that. And I felt that's why I'm so disappointed. I actually enjoyed the process, though.
Let's face it, though, we're all buying Viscounts, aren't we?
Well, of course we are.
Of course we are. Goes without saying.
I am not, because I like Architects, and then as Shawnee knows, I played Raiders, and I didn't. Yeah,
Ronan's not a big fan. Like, he didn't particularly get on with Raiders, and Architects are really the only one that you've got on with so far.
Yeah, so I haven't plunged into Viscounts, because also it's against the Magna Carta to do that, so I decided I shouldn't do it. Okay, Matthew, I'm going to turn down the my headphone volumes. Your biggest disappointment of 2019, please.
Stefan Feld is one of the greatest board game designers of all time. And
you can have another preach, by the way. There's a lot of preachers coming out here.
He's building up to it. He's on the pulpit.
Next to Rainer Knizia, I'd say he was the greatest board game designer of all time. He understands what fun is, and he manages to bottle that fun and put it in a little cardboard box and ships it off right to your house. What a guy. However, Renegade Games don't care about games. I'm going to say it. They don't.
He should never have commented on that video, should he?
He shouldn't have commented on my video. It was unprofessional of him to do so. I'll say it. Renegade Games...
We'd like to say at this point that the Game Pit doesn't necessarily hold the same views as Matthew Jude.
I'm insulted that he's choosing to burn his bridges on our podcast. He's just assuming no one's ever going to hear this. He's not going to do it on Rodney Smith's channel, is he?
No, I'm not. Well, no, the thing is, right, there are a lot of Renegade games that I really, really like. And
climb down.
There's like Arboretum is an incredible game. I'm just looking at my shelves now. I do have quite a few of their games.
Circadian's almost made my list for the top 10, I'll say that.
That's a really good game. And I've spoken very highly just of all the games that I really like. I love Paladins. I like Raiders a lot. I want Raiders of Scythia, probably because I'm a sucker. I love Gunkimono is one of their games, which I really, really like. They've got a lot of great games, but they just slapped Stefan Feld's name on a beige box, shipped it out, and hoped everyone would buy Revolution of 1828. And while Revolution of 1828 isn't a groundbreaking game, it's not even one of the best games of the year or anything like that. I find it to be a fun little game, and the game itself is just a lot of fun, and it's nice to play, and it's absolutely fine. But the treatment it got as to what it looks like a 2010 Stefan Feld game. And that is the biggest disservice to this game, and from a company that has the ability to produce games that look like Arboretum. Why they just shipped out this game to everybody and said, well, it's Stefan Feld, you'll buy it anyway. And yeah, that's what happened. That's what I did. Because it's Stefan Feld, so I'm going to buy it anyway. But it just didn't get any of the attention it deserves. For that reason, it went massively under the radar and no one cared about it. It's not a groundbreaking game, but it is a fun little two-player game that I like a lot. But man, I just can't believe the way they made this game look. And I'm so disappointed, even more than like the gameplay of games. I'm just massively disappointed in the treatment this game got. And then that Renegade was saying that, they didn't have any control over the way the game looked because it's the European publisher designed the box and all this kind of stuff. Then don't print it. Don't do it then. Why would you take... It's like owning a restaurant and saying, well, we've got this one chef who's rubbish, but we'll put their food out as well. And every 1 in 10 meals people get is terrible. It's just absolute disservice. And I just think they just don't care, and they just pushed it out and thought, we've got this. I felt like they had a game on that they needed to release and didn't want to, so they just shoved it out and then forgot about it, which is what they do, frankly, with a lot of their games. Castell was my favourite game of 2018. That's Renegade Games, and I will sing about Castell forever. It's one of my favourite games, right? So I do love a lot of their games, and they do a really good job. But this game they just didn't care about, and it just felt like they were contractually obliged to release it and didn't want to ever look at the game again, think about the game. They'll never reprint it. It's just lost to the annals of time, and it's such a waste. Massive disappointment.
I mean, basically, I should have written Renegade Games on the show notes. But I do agree with you. In Renegade, they do have this reputation of just churning through titles and maybe not sort of giving them the care and attention that they need to push them to the next level to be sort of huge hits or what have you. It just feels like it's a conveyor belt. It feels like their games are just on a conveyor belt and they just go, and that's the last they're seen of. So yeah, I do see where you're going there, Matthew.
It's just annoying, right? Because if it's Clank or if it's a Garfield game, they will release loads of expansions and promos and all this kind of stuff for it. And when they go and support a game, they go all out and support it and do a bunch of stuff for it, even stuff that they weren't meant to do for it. But that's a whole other story. But the fact is that most of their games, they just seem to just push out and then forget about. It's like, are you ever going to get a reprint or a expansion to Castell? No, never. It's never going to happen because Renegade Games have forgot that they made it.
So it's about the 1828 election between John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson, but you play as neither of those two figures.
Yeah.
That's a bit weird.
You kind of play as their press officer almost, a little bit. It's a very fun little abstract game. It's not groundbreaking by any means. It really isn't. It's not the best game of the year. It's never going to make any of those lists in a million years. But it's fun. But it's the fact that it just got treated so poorly that they never even gave it a chance.
And apparently there's simplistic historical drivel in the rulebook. So, avoid that.
Who's reading that?
Okay, moving on. So my number one choice is actually a game, not a company. It is it's Reavers of Midgard from Grey Fox. Now I really like Champions of Midgard.
Firstly, tell us what you think about Grey Fox though, because it's become the theme.
I haven't really got a lot to say about Grey Fox.
But Plaid Hat.
Yeah, really enjoyed Champions of Midgard. I know it wasn't for everybody because of the random nature, but it was light enough to make that not really matter. So then when I saw Reavers of Midgard, I was on the Kickstarter. What I found was the game had very obvious choices, very repetitive in that the first half of the game you have to go to a certain part of the board, and the second half of the game you go to a certain part of the board, and everybody is in the same spaces, and it's very obvious where you go. The turns took too long because there were games within games, and you were rolling dice and going off and you were doing your own thing. And the dice rolling, which I did like in Champions of Midgard, that gave that element of, am I going to succeed? Always succeeded in Reavers of Midgard. It might as well not have been there. They were just so stacked in your favour that you would have to have the worst luck that any person's ever had to not make one of those rolls. Maybe the last roll that you do just for an extra point or something, you might fail because you don't care anymore. But I don't care anymore about Reavers. I sold it at Aircon and I'm glad it's gone. I was really disappointed.
I got rid of my copy as well.
Really was attracted to it, to be honest with you. Looked like a overly long luck fest. And yeah, that's it. I don't care enough to comment any further, to be honest with you. Champions was okay, and this looked like a worse version that was longer.
With Reavers, I think you will enjoy your first game of this, but then you will never need to play it again. That's the way I feel about it. And that's definitely one of the ways I felt about it.
This is Reavers of Midgard, not Paladins of the West Kingdom. Have you got confused?
Sorry, I was talking about era medieval age.
Okay, we'll move on to not only the biggest disappointment of 2019. We've been doing this podcast since 2013, 7 years. This is the worst game that we have ever reviewed on our podcast. It is the biggest disappointment of the last decade. It is a game that has no place in the industry, was a complete waste of time in making, and do not waste your time in playing. And it is Foothills.
Come on, it's no Guild of Fools, Ronan.
Worse. You'll say is it Gauntlet of Fools, isn't it?
Gauntlet of Fools, that's the fella.
The Donnie X classic. It's a classic compared to this. This is the most pointless turd of a game that is frustrating. It is straight-jacketed. It has a pretense at variety which simply doesn't exist. It has the ability to get you caught up and wrapped up within yourself, so you're literally stuck and cannot do anything, and the game can get stuck. The point scoring is in half points and useless rubbish like that. Every time you do something, it's more to the benefit of the other player than yourself usually, and Snowdonia plays fantastically 2-player, has a massive amount of expansions to it, which means it's got endless replayability, and it's a fabulous game. This is a shambles. This is just a pale, pale shadow wrapped up in a horrible bundle of angry hedgehogs. It's just
it's
terrible.
A mockery of a sham.
Oh, man, why does this exist? Just a rubbish, horrible, worst cash-in ever. Terrible game.
I got this at Essen last year, and I've just never got round to playing it because I just look at it and go, what am I doing? I'm never going to play it. I'll probably sell this game unplayed.
And be happier for it. Close the door, Matthew, and walk away.
For me, we played it, and obviously there's massive similarities with Snowdonia, and I just didn't understand why this game existed. But you could get yourself in complete dead ends in this game, and if you just by making a slight mistake, you could end up in a dead end and not be able to recover, not be able to play the game anymore. That in itself is a broken game. I thoroughly did not enjoy this game. I don't think I hate anything as much as Ronan hates this, but I didn't like it.
Me?
Wow, okay. But you don't really come down as a thing. You're more of a feeling.
A concept.
Right, Matthew has to run off, so we're going to let him very quickly say goodbye and remind us again what he does and where he does it.
Everything.
I do This Game's Broken, the board game panel show, which is a podcast, which is a comedy podcast about board games. Yeah, it exists. I do Death by Monsters, which is a show about monsters, mysteries, and the unknown. I do that with Paula Deming and Nick Murphy from the Brothers Murph, and it's about monsters and weird things and strange happenings in the world, and we try and have fun with it. And I do videos on Watch It Played, which is this board game channel that Rodney Smith does. It's pretty popular. That's me.
All right, Matthew, take care of yourself, and we'll see you for the top 10.
Bye. See you next time.
Bye.
See you, mate. Cheers. Well, Sean, that got quite emotional.
It really did. We normally try and make our top 3 disappointments sound relatively calm. They're just not for us. Maybe they're for other people. But I think this time we kind of went to town.
No, I was quite calm about my first 2. Oh, Crystal Palace, I said, is actually a fine
That's because
game.
to be fair, you were. But then you were saving it up for the last one.
Oh, genuinely. I checked back. It's one of the very few 2 out of 10 games I've ever rated.
The worst game we've ever covered.
It is the worst game we've ever. We have never covered another game that I've rated a 2 out of 10. That is genuinely true. And I know that because we were covering it, I made myself play it more than once. It was on holiday. There were so many things I could be doing in that cottage in Northumberland, and I played friggin' Foothills. I resent it greatly. That was my birthday week, you know. That ruined my 41st birthday.
Okay, so should we let these people go and remind them that we will be back with the second part of this episode with our top 10, so a much more positive episode.
Well, not for each other's picks, but you know.
Maybe not for each other's picks, but individually we'll all be very positive about the games that we are bringing to the table, so to speak. And all that's left to say is thank you very much, Ronan.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Matthew, even though he's gone. Thank you, everyone, for listening. You're very welcome, and thank you for joining us.
And as always, we are very proud members of the Dice Tower Network. Go there and to the Dice Tower itself for gaming goodness galore. We're on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and of course Podbean. If you wish to email us, we're thegamepitpodcast@gmail.com. You can contact us on our Board Game Geek Guild. And please do send us in questions or ideas you have for the show. We'd love to hear them. We're on social media with our Facebook page. We have our Instagram page, and we're on Twitter @GamePitPodcast. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you next time for our top 10 of 2019. Music by E. Aaron. Boy, and I'll do Matthew's